Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. Every company has a story to tell, from the small startup to the large enterprise, and everything in between. This is one of them. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Marco.
Sean.
You know, I like to go faster and get more stuff done than humanly possible sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think thankfully there's a way that technology can help with this.
Yeah, but I think nowadays I can still tell that you cheated. That's the problem.
Exactly.
I mean, it's getting there. It's getting
close.
there.
It's getting close.
Here's an advice for you.
All
You
right,
should use it as a tool where you work with this new technology named, I heard it's called artificial intelligence, or even more specific, generative artificial intelligence. There's not an easy button. It's not going to do everything you want. So,
I think many people have opinions. You said cheating. I don't know. Is it cheating if it achieves the results?
No.
Are there rules? I don't know. That's a question that maybe we'll dig into today.
It's a cheating if to go somewhere faster instead of walking, you get a bike or a car. That's not cheating. You're just using the technology that human invented. So see, we're already going philosophical. So break on this. Don't let me go there yet. Let's introduce our guest, which is someone that I really enjoy talking. We had a couple of episodes in the past, so I know it's going to be a fantastic conversation.
No, Ron Bennatan, thanks for being on again. Always fun having the Imperva team on to talk about interesting topics. And no question, AI is a hot topic and an interesting one. And I'm excited to hear some of your perspectives on the world of technology and the world of cybersecurity, and how that this new wave of capability is impacting both of those and ultimately society as well. So thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, Sean, Marco.
So before we get into all the good stuff, can you read the profile description that ChatGPT wrote for you, Ron? I want to hear who you are and what makes you think, what makes you tick or think, either way. And my guess is ChatGPT knows far better than any of the three of us. I'm joking, of course. Now, a few words about what you're up to at Imperva, and maybe some thoughts on why this topic is an important one to discuss. Not just because everybody is, but there's a reason that everybody is, right?
Yeah. So I'm a data security fellow at Imperva, which means I am on the data security side of the house. I focus on technologies that help our customers secure their data, and I get to tinker with new stuff and things that could change the landscape of how we do things, or change the landscape of the threat profiles. And and sometimes I tinker with things that make a difference and come to fruition, and sometimes they don't. If you ask me, this is probably the biggest thing that I've had to work with, or I got to work with, probably since the internet. So it is, I cannot think of something bigger and more disruptive than this, or at least I haven't experienced, or at least in the last 30 years, I haven't experienced something this disruptive. And disruptive for overall for the good. Like now, it's also disruptive for in a bad way, but in my opinion, overall on the balance of things, it is a very, very good thing, and I'm very excited about it. And I wake up every morning with thinking, oh, I actually wake up and sometimes I write myself an email in the middle of the night just so I don't forget to try something, because it is very magical in my opinion. Okay, it's not, it's not like, oh, well, let's do a search engine or ask something and it'll give me an answer. And it's also not really about cheating, but it is about it. Okay, so I think what people don't understand or haven't completely assimilated into themselves is the fact that we as humans, there are some things that make us human, okay? And one of the things that make us human is our ability to communicate, okay? And what this thing, my entire life I've heard about AI, okay? When I did my undergraduate, I had a course called AI. It wasn't even close to what this thing is, okay? It's like it shouldn't have the same name. What the current generation, I think, that only exists for the last maybe 2 years, at least for the majority of us. Okay, I'm sure other people have worked on this for longer, but for most of us, it's been around for between a year and 2 years. The thing that it has been able to do is kind of hack the communication protocol between people. Okay, and I think that's what makes it so fundamental, right? It truly understands, or it seems to truly understand what I'm asking it, and it seems to truly give me answers that I would expect somebody human to give me. And from that perspective, it's hacked our humanity, okay? Because if it can replace, if it can replace some of the communication, then it is on the one side very magical and very, very deep, and that's why it's very exciting to me.
Wow, I was gonna open the can slowly, the philosophical one, and you just went and pretty much said, "Here it is. Just broke it. Just break it. Let's put it out there." And I agree with everything you said, and I guess then we can go more in the specific of maybe cybersecurity. I'm sure Sean wants to go there, but I want to point on something that you said, and as you are talking about the communication, I was thinking about that movie Horror from a few years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And that it seems like still a dream at that time to have that kind of conversation. Now, I'm not saying that ChatGPT is going to fall in love with any of us, although who knows, could. But we're there. I mean, I feel the same. I feel like I am talking to someone, and in a human language, in a way that I don't need to put the idea there that it's just a probability random positioning of one word after another. Because in the end, I don't even know how we think. So I just know that it makes sense for me to talk to you. Then if you're doing randomly, you're doing a pretty good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, I
impressive.
agree. I totally agree. I think it's, I catch myself sometimes, there's this, anybody who goes who studies computer science learns about the Turing test. Okay, can you put can you put a screen, and you have on the one side a human and the other side a machine, and you talk to both and you can identify? And so people often say, does ChatGPT pass the Turing test? Oh no, it doesn't, because you can kind of you can see a pattern or a style. I have to tell you, I completely think this thing passes the Turing test, because I find myself, for example, writing stuff, and it doesn't always give me the right answer, or it doesn't, or I can see that it didn't completely understand what I wanted, or I wanted to focus on something else. But I find myself, asking one thing, and then when I ask for something a little different, like for example, I might say, oh, you gave me, like, I'll give it a big task, and it only gives me the first part. and I want to say something like, please do it more thoroughly for everything. And did you see what I just said? I said, please do it more thorough. Why am I saying please? It's not going to be offended if I don't say please, but I am saying please. Okay, so to me, there's something going on here, which is different, and also, anyway, I find myself that sometimes I think that the thing that it produces, and I use this in a bunch of places, not just ChatGPT. Sometimes it's Copilot for writing code, and I look at some of the output, and I use the word uncanny. It's uncanny, this thing, okay? Which you don't say that about tools, right? You don't say it's uncanny, okay? You say it's good. You say it's fast. You say, but I get that feeling a lot, and yeah, it's it's in a very broad spectrum. Okay, it's in a broad spectrum, and it just gets more and more. What was it that I recently realized? I recently realized, I read this tutorial that you can sometimes. Oh, I remember what it was. When I moved from 3.5 to 4, I suddenly noticed that, besides the fact that it's a little, it takes more, it has a bigger set of tokens it can use, and by the way, it's also slower. Okay, but it explains itself. Okay, it's like it doesn't give you the answer. It gives you its, let's not. It's thought process, okay, or it's okay, whatever this, but it's like it gives you the steps, and it's marvelous. It's just marvelous.
So I have experienced that with the DALL-E, which was a huge step, and that's how I jumped back from Midjourney to say, okay, DALL-E is pretty good, and I love that explain how it creates a more advanced prompt than the one you gave. Right, so there is that conversation, and I'm wondering, does it do the same thing with the code? Because I don't play with codes. Does it explain why it decided to write the code in a way or in another?
It not specifically, not in if you're using like GitHub Copilot, but if you are using it in the ChatGPT part, when they're now more integrated, then yes, it's exactly that. What it's like, if you give it a simple task, if you give it a task which is really complicated, sometimes it gives you an answer, and then like for example, even in a security context, okay, I'll give it a say I'm trying to do some PII classification. Okay, I have some data, and I'm trying to tell it, tell me if there's PII here, or find me the PII, or tell me what to do with this PII. Okay, if I give it a simple text, it'll do it. If I give it, for example, a zip file with 10,000 files, it'll try to do it, and it'll give me a very, very, very partial answer. Okay, and then when I tell it, but wait a minute, I asked you to find all the PII in this zip file. Like, I didn't actually change exactly the prompt, but I kind of scolded it for doing a partial job. And by the way, sometimes it apologizes. Sometimes it says, apologies. And at that point, it goes into a prescriptive algorithm. It says, okay, you gave me a zip file. The first thing I need to do is open the zip file. Then I need to iterate over the directory structure, and it writes the few lines of Python code to do that. And so it's I don't know what, listen, I don't understand what's going on inside this thing. Okay. but it's almost like you're talking to a different person at that point. Okay, which is again, it's a lot of fun.
It can be fun, and I want to get your thoughts on this because you're talking about tokens and whether or not the prompt is too big to understand, and we can actually, so you can prompt it a little differently or give it the different information or use multiple prompts to break things up. And I'm wondering, we're not just talking about the UI prompt through a web browser or the mobile app that's available for ChatGPT, right? These things are open by APIs,
Yes.
where I can run some automation and just feed and prompt and tweak and whatever's coming out, automate a lot of this stuff at scale, right? And so I'd like your thoughts on this, because sometimes when I do that, it's 99% accurate. And then there's that one little thing in there where I thought, I don't know where the heck you got that, but that's not part of this.
Yes. But by the way, that is a big challenge. That last bit is a big challenge. So maybe I'll start with this. And it's not 1%. Okay, it's much higher
that's
than
all
1%.
I'm capable of.
and it's called hallucinations. Okay, it's like there's and there are ways that you can control how creative it is and how hallucinating it is versus how precise it is. And it's funny when you think about how it fits into a software development lifecycle. There's all kinds of other challenges because the outputs are not exactly deterministic. Okay, and we're used to, when you develop stuff, you're used to creating automated testing, but the thing answers differently. Sometimes you can be running the same tests and they fail. Okay, so that's a challenge. Okay, there's another challenge with the at scale piece, that it's slow. Okay, when you run an API that lives over there, and when you're sitting there interactively in front of the prompt, you don't care that it's typing slowly. But when you run it from your code and you're waiting for an answer, and it takes 4 seconds to come back, and you're trying to build a system that has a throughput of 1,000 requests per second, that's not going to work. Okay, so you have a lot of other, the good thing is it's not a monopoly. There's not one game in town. There are different, there's open chat, which you can host yourself, but different levels of quality, different, but yeah, it's a new tool, and whoever's in the software business that wants to use this new tool, it needs to deal with all the implications of something that's new and different.
So you said something that actually sometimes pisses me off, and sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, which is usually never repeat the same answer, even if the prompt is the same. It's very hard to have it do the same image and say, just change add 3 clouds. You usually get some difference in the output. So if it does it in a creative environment, okay, whatever. But if it does it in a code just for the heck of changing something, because it just have to be innovative all the time, that could be an issue. But it could also prompt to, I'm guessing, something that you wouldn't not thought. So when we say it's not creative, I think sometimes because of this randomness, it could bring some creative aspect to it. And where I'm going with this is, how can an attacker, a cyber criminal, leverage this? Because we do try to social engineer ChatGPT so that, like I was listening about people now that they have writers, that they have a lawsuit against it because it pretty much ingested well, not ChatGPT, but OpenAI, because they ingested obviously entire books, and the lawyer were trying to trick the ChatGPT to say where, if they actually did read the books or not. So I'm wondering how the bad guys are going to try to skim this.
So I think, it is a tool, and it's a great tool, and the same way it's a great tool for us, it's also it's an amazing tool for the other side. It's there's no doubt about it that it's both a good tool for the attacker in making them more productive in scripts and things like that, and maybe even more important, it's a great tool for that concept that we hacked the communication layer of humans. Okay, first of all, a lot of defenses relied on something that we thought humans could do and scripts could not do. Okay, the whole captcha thing, the whole thing that somebody's going to call a phone number and read something out, and you have to put those are trivial to the complete degree. So a lot of defenses are worthless right now. Okay. Everything that we kind of got used to and got under control, that we used to call social engineering attacks or phishing attacks or whatever, are going to become way more sophisticated. Okay. And I don't think we've even started to skim that because it's not, it's not just about, it's not just about the ability to sound like a human, but potentially it's the ability to sound like Marco. Okay. Like if Marco is important enough that if we compromise Marco, we can compromise the entire bank, then it's worthwhile investing in mimicking Marco. Okay. And the ability to take an existing large language model and just do very fine, very not difficult fine tuning, means that, we can approximate Marco much faster. Okay. So, and I don't think that's happened yet, but these are all things that are going to make defending harder. In our world, for example, much of what we do is insider threat. Now, insider threat means that the person inside the company who has all the privileges is in many ways the threat. Okay. But not because they're necessarily bad guys. Okay. It could be that they're bad guys, or it could be that they have been compromised. The ability or the threshold necessary in order to compromise insiders has just gone up. Okay, there's no doubt. And it is but going back to the beginning, I still think that even though it makes kind of the attacks more sophisticated and harder to defend, I still think that overall this thing is for the good, even in security.
So you made an interesting point that I want to maybe expand on a little bit. And it's this idea, because I think we started off with the Turing test. Can it fool somebody, or at least make somebody believe that it's human? And it's easy. I mean, we've seen purpose-built bots. We've seen all these things like specific social engineering attacks. When we start talking about AI and generative AI, I think we tend to take a step back and think, can this do everything all at once really well, visually, audibly, written, code, you name it, right? But to your point, it doesn't have to do all of that today, all really well. It can do something very specific. And you said you haven't seen anything like that. But what are some What are some examples of what that might look like? You gave the example of Marco's voice to impersonate him, but let's look at this from I'm an organization. I build software to interact with my clients to manage claims or process order, whatever it is. What are some of the things I might experience with some very finely tuned AI-enabled bots, let's say?
As a user or as the company providing the service? What did you mean?
I meant yeah.
Well, so I hope I don't say something that that you can't say on a recorded line. But I think this has the potential to be better than 70% of humans. Okay, so I think it elevates a lot of communications and a lot of tasks that you as a consumer or as a customer or as a user, might have been very frustrated. Okay, I know that is just a person, whether it's dealing with my medical plan and a claim, and sometimes I feel like I want to pull the hair that I no longer have. Okay, and sometimes it's not because somebody is intentionally doing something wrong, but because it just seems to be like a lot of disconnected processes or disconnected systems that don't tap to. So I don't think AI is going to solve everything, okay, because it's not enough. Okay, you need the communication, you need it to have access to the data, because without the data, it's not going to solve my problem of why my foreign claim has taken 90 days for somebody to look at. Okay. However, I will tell you that it is absolutely not something that should take 90 days. And you can see that I'm talking from personal experience. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I look at the documents that I sent in. It's a no-brainer to decide if you accept the claim or don't accept the claim. Why does it take 90 days? So if you're asking me, do I believe that a year from now or 2 years from now, it'll take 90 seconds? I absolutely believe it should take 90 seconds. It is a no-brainer. Look, by the way, actually, it's an excellent example. Okay, it's an excellent example. Why? I'll tell you why it took 90 days. Okay, I sent it in. I don't know. It went around and around and around, but because it was in a foreign country, it wasn't in English. Okay, it wasn't in English. So they sent it to translation. That took another month to come back. Okay, then something else was missing. They sent it again to translation. These things do the translations themselves. It would have taken 90 seconds with the right AI. And that's an example of how our lives are going to change.
Right.
And by the way, in security too, when you think about it, the triaging process is the most expensive and lengthy process, right? And it involves people, and it involves people that need a certain skill set, and it involves different contexts and different aspects. Okay, so are all these things going to go like that? I truly believe they will.
Well, after all, what AI, generative AI, is doing now, is summarize and so understanding quickly a document, looking at all the options. Creatively, yeah, there are some weirdo like me and you that really have fun with it, and I'm sure there's others. But most people, they use it to summarize this article. Read through this and tell me the main 5 points of, I don't know, the new contract for SAG-AFTRA, because I don't want to read it all, right? And it does it really well. So I'm wondering, when you said that it could improve the control, the look into the asset, look into maybe some lack of defense in the threat programs, maybe, or in the way that the computer is accessible from the outside. I'm thinking that that's exactly the kind of work that AI can do very, very, very well.
I haven't actually thought about about that. It's a really good question. It's an excellent question. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer because it's a deep question. I will say one thing though, that even though you said it was exactly that, it's actually exactly the reverse. Meaning, what you want to ask it is not to summarize what exists, but to ask it what doesn't exist. You're saying, for example, you'll say something like, this is my policy. Where is it broken? Or, these are my controls. What is it lacking? Or, what are the pitfalls? Or where do I have contradictions? I don't know, Marco, you may have stumbled onto something like maybe a new startup or something. I have to think about what you said, but it's a good question, and it could be a brilliant question. Okay.
Wow.
But I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Maybe it was completely random, and I just came up with something with something brilliant. I don't know, but
and you'll never be able to remake that statement.
That same question is going to have to be rephrased a million times, and I have to add tapestry and some kind of like dance and the kind of terminology that he puts. But I don't know, Sean, a lot to think about here. This is not a conversation that's going to end today.
No, there's so much to consider. And Ron, I actually want to, as we begin to wrap up, sadly, your thoughts on this. I mean, there's so many opportunities for security teams to leverage this, to paint a picture, identify the gaps as you were describing, perhaps respond faster. I think you used that as an example earlier, to looking at attack information and compromised data to find new paths. Those are fairly tactical examples. What would you suggest maybe security teams, let's focus there, security teams do to ensure that their organization has the best posture possible, given AI is gonna exist at some point in their organization? It's a big question, but maybe some highlights of big areas to focus on.
So I think that I think you're right that this is significant enough that it's not enough to look at this tactically. I think it's it's not incremental, it's not linear, it's not enough to just I think a lot of like even at the companies, okay, the vendors, okay, like it's clear that every vendor needs AI, okay, so everybody's looking for, where do I put some AI? But you're right that security organizations, I think they almost need to go back to basics in order to figure out where it best fits or how it best fits, okay, and make a decision on what are the absolute axioms that I have built my program on, and then figure out where this fits best and how this fits best, and not look at this as just, okay, I have a data security program, I have a DLP, I have a SIM, I have this. Each one of them should have some AI. I don't think that's that's the easy one. I think I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just thinking that I think it's important to realize that it blurs the line between human and not human, and then go back to basics and look at the axioms and say which of my axioms don't work anymore, okay, which just have to be completely thrown out, and therefore it'll be more significant, okay, more more fundamental.
And I'm going back to what was the example you gave? CAPTCHAs, presenting text that then audibly reads it to get past the CAPTCHA. I mean, that's an example of something you're doing now that is not going to fly.
Or tell me where the bus is. Okay, what do you think? This thing doesn't know where the bus is or the bridge is?
It's like, it can see images better than us. So
it's dead. It's that all that thing is dead.
But if you think about the process, again, it's always a getting better. It's always this chess game. And I'm going to say something to my last thoughts on this, but before I get there is password. Yeah, password was great during the Roman Empire, where they were fantastic. Who's there? Oh, tell me, open the door if you guess that what that's said. Then we got computer that started to crack those password numbers longer. Now the catch that it was good. Now it's not. So
but look how long it took us to get away from passwords. Like we knew we needed to get away from passwords 20 years ago. Look how long it took us.
Yeah,
we don't have 20 years now. We don't have 20 years.
And that's my last observation is that now it changed so fast that I don't know where the battle is gonna happen. I keep envisioning to take two, adversarial AI. Just put two AI. One is the good one is the bad, and I'm sure somebody's already doing it. Put them on the ring. Here's all the information you need. Figure it out. Figure out yourself and let me know where the defenses are not good enough or how creative you can get to knock it down. So I'm not going to be on that ring, Sean. I'm not going to be there.
Well, the battle's going to be in the mapping of controls against mitigating controls against risk and exposure, and that's going to happen faster than our human brains can deal with. So we're going to have to use AI to understand that, I think. And to your point, Ron, I think strategically look at every part of the business and every part of the security program and every part of the risk management program and say, where do we sit today and know that it's going to look very different tomorrow. and start, I don't know, it's a tough problem. I think the only thing I can say beyond that is surround yourself with smart people who are looking at all these tough problems as they surface.
Curious people.
Exactly.
I think that's the key.
Yeah. And I would say within reason, be curious as well, because that's where you'll find something that only you can find as a human sometimes as well. So, Ron, it's clear to me, probably all of our listeners, that we could talk about this for days, but I think we painted a good picture today that this is a topic that you can't ignore, and you need to think about it and surround yourself with smart people like you. Get curious. So thanks, Ron, and to all of the team at Imperva. We actually had maybe almost a year ago now. We had a chat with your CTO and now CISO as well, Kunal Anand, and we touched on this topic as well, and a lot of interesting things there too. I'm gonna include a link to that episode because it's still.
And he's a brilliant, curious person.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sean, we talked to Kunal a year ago, so you know how many things happen in AI in a year. I think it's time to bring him back.
I know, but what makes a human brilliant is the foresight to say this is going to matter regardless of some of the details. And Ron has that, and Kunal has that as well. So
absolutely.
Yep. So with that, we'll include any links that Ron has that he thinks might shed some additional light on this, and of course links to connect with the Imperva team, and many more conversations coming up, Marco.
Yeah, I want Ron to come back because that jar is still full. So we need to dig deeper.
You can't unleash it like that, Ron. And then
I know.
We stop it there. So many more.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Me too.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.